If you want to rock and record a tube amp in silence, then join me for this episode of I Don't Have a Band, right now.
The only thing we have to fear is gear itself.
I hear you've got something for me.
Oh, do I ever. You're in for a treat.
Fire Torpedo 1, Torpedo 2!
There you go.
Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. This is the third installment in a series that I'm doing with Long McQuaid, Canada's largest musical instrument retailer that celebrates our love of gear. In the last episode, we took a look at the HX Stomp from Line 6, which in essence is their Helix platform in a Stomp box format, and it was my first experience with a modeling amp system. So I came this close to picking it up, but I decided to wait because since it was my first experience with a modeling system, I wanted to see what other options were out there. Now, obviously Justin, our resident expert down in Long McQuaid, had something up his sleeve because in this episode, he recommended the Two Notes Audio Engineering Torpedo Captor 8. Now, unlike the HX Stomp or the Helix platform, which is a modeling system, this device allows me to take my existing tube amp and record directly into my computer, basically in silence. So we're going to see what Justin had to say about it, and then we're going to come back here and test it out. One thing I will say right now is since I've tried the modeling system and I did spend time with this, I've decided to make a purchase, but I'm not going to reveal what that is until the end of the video. So why don't you stick around and we'll see what I decided to do. Anyways, let's head down to Long McQuaid and then we'll head back here to the studio to try out the Torpedo Captor 8.
Hello again, Dan.
Justin, what's going on?
Not much, man. You doing all right?
I'm doing okay.
Cool. What did you think of this?
I'm a little sad. I have to give this back to you. Does that answer everything you need to know?
Yes, it does. All right, so I got one more thing for you to try out. This one is going to be interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Hit me with it.
All right. It is the Two Notes Torpedo Captor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, not too many people know about this, which is kind of sad. I think this is a great product. I think it's probably just a little misunderstood as to what it is. It is a load box, it is an attenuator, and it's also a DI for your amp. So what do I mean by that? An attenuator in a load box sits between your amplifier and your speaker and lets you burn off a portion or all of the wattage coming from your amp that would normally go to your speaker. So it can lower the volume of the amp. So if you want to crank it up to 10 and get all that power tube saturation, but keep the volume down, it'll let you do that. It will also act as a load box. So you don't even have to hook up a cabinet to it. You can just record silently with your amp on full blast if you want, and it won't make any sound. It'll just burn off all that wattage as heat. So that's super cool. Now, why would you want to do that? There is this portion of the unit on the front, which is the DI. Now, this is really cool. This works hand in hand with a software component from Two Notes called the Wall of Sound. What this allows you to do is get a DI feed from your amp, so you get the preamp, the power amp saturation, the transformer saturation, all that juicy, delicious tone out of your amp. You send it right into your computer as a line-in signal on your interface. And then there's the Wall of Sound plugin sits on the channel on your DAW, where it will run speaker IRs. So you can select your cabinet, select the room that the cabinet is in after the fact in the software, which is
used to be like multiple cabinets?
You could use multiple cabinets. You get to choose the microphones on the speaker as well. Super, super flexible. If you're in a situation where you can't make a lot of noise or any noise, it's great. It's also great if you want to be able to change speakers after the fact, sort of change the tone of the cabinet if you're not sure whether you want to go through like a 112 cabinet or a 410 cabinet or an 810 cabinet. you can save that choice for later and change it in the software component. And there's models of all sorts of the the popular cabinets, the Marshall cabinets, the Mesa ones. It's got Celestion speakers in there. It's got Eminence speakers in there. It's got all sorts of stuff. It's got bass cabinets as well. If you're recording a bass amp through this, yeah, you can basically record any amp you want. Okay, so just like last time, Dan, I'm going to wrap this up for you, and you get to take it home and try it with your tube amps.
I am looking forward to this one.
Cool. All right, let's get it done.
Let's do it.
All right, Dan, there you are.
All right.
As always, let me know what you think.
Will do. Thanks again, Justin.
Cheers.
Okay, welcome to Guitar Corner. This is one of my top 4 favorite corners in the room. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to keep it pretty simple, I'm going to record a track, and what I typically do for a heavier sounding guitar is I like to double track it and pan it hard left and right. But I'm going to set the amp once, and we're going to bust out the Gibson Challenger today. This is an old 80s era or Norland era a Gibson Challenger. Did a little work on it, got a Gibson Les Paul custom tuners on here, and the pickups really sucked and there was these horrible humbuckers, but I put in these Lawler P94, so that's basically a P90 in a humbucker shape. So this is a nice raw beast, so I figured that would be fun for this experiment. So I'm going to record, like I said, double track each guitar, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to change the pickup. I'm going to go neck for one and bridge for the other. I'm going to mic the cab. I've got an SM57 on a 4x10 Marshall cab, and then I'm going to re-record that with the Captor 8. And I did find that Two Notes actually has an IR for this cabinet, so it's going to be a fair comparison. So I thought that was really cool that I found that. And then in terms of the mix, I'm going to use the exact same plug-in chain for both. Now, if ultimately I was recording and going to keep the Captor 8 version, I would shape the EQ that I want for the song, but I want you to hear the differences between the two. The idea is to see if we're getting a usable sound out of this, that it would actually let me replace my cabs in times that I just can't record loud. Okay, so why don't we jump in and see what this thing can do. So, what'd you think? I had a lot of fun with that. That's a pretty cool device. Definitely a handy thing to have around the studio, without a doubt. The only thing that I realized at the end of the Marshall cab version is that I let that feedback kind of ring it out the end. And that's really the only trade-off that I could think of is you're not going to get that feedback because you don't have an open speaker, an open microphone giving you that feedback. So I can't even fairly compare the tones that I got between the two because a lot depends on how I place the microphone. In this particular recording, the cab version came out sounding a little bit darker, I think, than the Captor 8 version. It was definitely brighter, maybe a little bit more articulate, which is actually a great thing because it provided a bit of latitude for me to shape it perhaps a bit more in the mix. Yeah. This is a really, really great unit. I've got some thinking to do. Okay, it's time for the big reveal. What direction am I going in? So I gave it a lot of thought. The HX Stomp blew me away. I plugged that thing in, I had that late night session, and all of a sudden I just had a myriad of options available to me with great sounding tones. These are realistic guitar sounds. I mean, they don't sound simulated, and just a ton of options in there. So the other option from today's video, the Torpedo Captor 8, which is letting me use my existing amplifier. I may be limited in options because I'm basically just using my amp, but it's allowing me to use my existing gear. So I gave it a lot of thought, and I've decided that I'm going to go in this direction, and here's why. I've spent a lot of time, energy, and money in building my rig. I've got my Marshall set up, I got the 2-speaker cabs, I've got all my pedals, and while the HX Stomp is an incredibly powerful system, it offers a lot more than I actually need. If I was composing for a lot of different people and I needed a lot of different tones, well, absolutely, that would have been my choice. But because I'm mainly recording for myself and I have spent a lot of time building my rig, I kind of felt like I was going to render that useless if I got the HX Stomp. Whereas this is allowing me to use my existing Marshall head. I can use all my pedals. I can shape the tone the way I want. And as a bonus, I can actually drive that amp to 10. That's one thing that I wasn't doing when I was recording the amp through the speakers. I mean, I've got that thing on 10 and I'm getting some incredible saturation. The meat of the sound is coming from my system, and ultimately that's why I decided to choose the Torpedo Captor 8. This thing is staying here. I'm going back empty-handed to Long McQuaid, so we'll have to explain to Justin, I guess I'll be dropping my Visa card. So I want to thank Justin for opening my eyes to this great product. I didn't even know it existed, and this is the thing that I was looking for. I'm going to be able to record a lot of guitars and really not have to worry at what time of day, and that's awesome. So again, thanks to Justin for that. I really want to thank Long McQuaid. I mean, they really have been awesome. They've opened their doors to me, providing me all kinds of cool gear so I can share with you guys. So please definitely check them out at long-mcquaid.com. Give this video a like, hit that subscribe button if you appreciate the content that I'm doing. I am on Patreon. If you want to support this channel, there's a link in the description, so make sure to check me out there. And I certainly hope I'll see you again on the next video. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And please like, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay up to date. Remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. There are a lot of great musical projects you can do by yourself, right from your own home. I hope to see you again next time.